Oh, look at that. We're only 6:12.
Yeah, and we've got a bit of a drama because everything's going a little bit skew at the moment.
Okay.
No. What's going on? Let's keep pressing some buttons. Everything was working fine, and now it's not. You've got to love live, right? You've got to love live. So,
hey, we're live. You've got to look at that. It says end stream.
It does. So let's do that. And let's just, you know what? We'll go with what we've got. We'll keep on chatting to each other for a bit, and well try and work out what's going on here. So,
yep.
All right.
Let's have a look and see if we are live.
Yeah, that's always a good start.
Let's
we had some sort of computer issue.
There.
You gotta love, nothing like an update, right? It's just absolutely fantastic.
Just amazing.
Let's just work on that. Okay, let's try and we'll stop it and come back in just a tick.
Oh no, we are live. We are live.
Well, if that's the case, do you know what? Let's just go with the flow of life, right? Okay, let's just do that. Welcome to the Genius Zone. It's Aaron Malloy doing my pressing the buttons. We're clearly not very efficiently because things are going wrong. But hey, it could be the fact that I've come back from a 5-hour lunch. I'm not saying that that's the reason. I'm going to throw.
But it was a very important lunch, though, Aaron. It was a very significant lunch.
I like that. Yeah, we use that word. Yeah, that was good.
Significant.
For a Wednesday?
Yeah. Is it a Wednesday? I've lost track.
Yeah.
That's how good the lunch was, right?
Yeah.
Feels like a Friday. It's Friday every day here at Edge.
That's right.
Tomorrow is a lovely Terry Messenger. Lovely to see you. Always
Thank you,
an absolute
and it
pleasure.
is so good to see you. I nearly died of shock when I saw you with that black suit on. I thought, who on earth?
He's suited up. What's going on?
I tell you what, he shines up pretty good.
Oh, look, there we go.
He shines
I'll
up
take that
pretty
compliment.
good. Yes.
Well, speaking of shining, we have a guest.
We have a shining star sitting over in the house with her very, very special guest also.
Yes.
The liaison officer.
Yeah, my customer liaison officer I have is Honey.
Right.
She is with me every day, so she meets and greets the customers and sits with everybody in the waiting room.
Absolutely.
So Honey is a 10-year-old half beagle, half dachshund.
I love a beagle.
What a combination.
Oh, I know.
That's
they
cool.
like food.
Yeah.
Is that like a long wheelbase beagle? Really?
Yes, pretty much.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah, and then short. Yeah, short.
Legs are
short,
optional, right?
wheels, short, long. Yeah, that's it. That's it. Absolutely.
That is so gorgeous. So I won't ask Honey to introduce you.
Oh
no,
maybe I could. I could
Honey
start.
is the liaison officer.
I
so,
know. I know. So,
So,
anyways, I am so happy to have you in the house. However, we need to let our listeners and our viewers know who we've got in the house today, because this is going to rock your world. We are talking 5-dimensional. We are talking ascension symptoms. We are talking about the fact that we are living in a world gone crazy. And I believe that. What do you reckon, Aaron? The world has really gone, bananas, really. It's gone bonkers.
Yep.
So, no other than Kim, who is really holding herself back a lot today, but you've chosen on the show to talk more about the ascension symptoms that people have with everything going on the earth. So maybe you can walk us through that. And we will also talk about your incredible DNA machine that knows how to read people's aura fields.
Now, while you're doing that, I'm going to do something highly technical. Okay.
You do that.
You the one.
Oh, that is so good.
He wants into the other room.
You got to sail off into the wild blue yonder.
I'm going to pretend I know what I'm doing. Right?
You do that.
Okay.
You do that.
That's all good. Right.
That's good. That's awesome. So, Kim, tell me, when you're thinking in terms of a world gone crazy, how can the work that you do, the 5-dimensional that you understand, how can that help people today? And perhaps if we can frame it by talking about, what is going crazy in the world today.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Well, I think it's just relieving a lot of people's stress and tension at the moment, and just having them be able to be calm and be grounded and just get through their day without having to worry about all the extra other stuff that's going on. So a lot of the time, especially with clients that I find, they really are not understanding some of the things that are going on because it's not in the mainstream. So one main thing is I think a lot of people have heard about solar flares, and what the actual sun is doing is it's expending a lot of energy and frequency down to the earth, which is actually upgrading us from a cellular level. So we're changing from carbon-based human beings to crystalline-based. Okay, so that means going from 6 protons, 6 neurons, 6 electrons, which is 666, funny enough. Right?
Strange little connection there,
I
but
know.
okay.
Our DNA has been messed with for over millennia. Right. So, and like they say, they've switched off all these strands of DNA, and then the mainstream will say the junk DNA. There's no such thing, okay? But what is happening now through this ascension process, and ascension means from low to high. So we're moving from the third density, which is what we're living in, like this
3-dimensional.
Yeah, 3-dimensional, and we're moving to the 5th dimension. Okay, so we're moving
but
to
how
a
do
higher.
people like Aaron move to 5th dimension?
Well, it's all
I
being
put
done.
my thumb out, I hitchhike.
Yeah,
That's how I
exactly.
get there, right?
Hitchhiker to-
Anyway,
yeah.
A rocket.
Well,
straight.
it's happening to everybody. So you don't really have to do anything specific. It's happening to everybody, whether you're awake, whether you're aware of it or not. So this is what's happening with the ascension symptoms with the solar flares. So everybody's is experiencing the exhaustion at the moment. Okay,
Yes,
everybody's really tired.
Oh, no doubt about that.
And people are finding this so tired that sometimes you can't go to sleep. Right. So
Interesting.
Yeah.
Welcome to my life.
Oxymoron.
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
But also, like, you're noticing that your diet is changing. Sometimes you just can't stop eating, and other times you're not hungry at all.
Right.
And then itchiness.
Yeah. Never thought of that.
Yeah, itchiness, digestion issues. There's lots of different things, like having really dreams that seem that they're very real.
Okay.
And there's lots of other weird and wonderful things that go with all of that, because we are changing from a cellular level. Things that no longer serve us, our programming, things that are stuck in our body that no longer serve us, are starting to go and let go.
Right.
But with all of the upgrading that is going on. So has anybody ever heard when you get that ringing in your ears for a few seconds? It's not tinnitus. Okay. Well, with some people, yes, it is. If they've had issues.
It's not from the nightclub.
Standing too close to the speakers. Or like me, you've burst your eardrums from scuba diving.
What?
But no, that ringing in your ears when you just have that few seconds, and sometimes it's white noise, sometimes it sounds like a beautiful glass singing bowl. That which is so cool, is the Earth's frequency talking to your body and your cells and telling it what to upgrade. So that is your download, and then it's telling your cells what to upgrade.
To me, it's very interesting because I'm new. Okay, I'm a newbie when it comes to vibration and understanding frequency. Okay, I used to put it in the category about woohoo, right? Okay?
Exactly.
But okay, I really do, and which is a bit silly because I'm a guy whose whole life has really been surrounded by music, right? So from that point of view, I love frequency. I love those vibrations and things. So it is interesting to look at your life in that scope, I guess, as frequency.
But we are frequency beings. That's what we're made of water and frequency. So that's what we are.
Even electricity and light. And, my son was talking about how he's working with, air conditioning and REAM.
Right.
And how they've got to spin it, and how the spinning of it becomes the electricity. And I'm like, Dan, do you remember that energetics that I did? No, Mum,
no,
I did. No. I do not remember that. But, it is. We are frequency human beings.
Correct.
So let's take that Joe Blogs, I'm just going to be really corny for a sec, is tuning into this live, and they have no idea what you are talking about. I'm not being rude or anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, they don't understand third dimension. They don't understand fifth dimension. Let's go back to square one. So if we're going back to square one, we're talking about, okay, what are some of the things going on in the planet at the moment that you think are highly significant toward people that are just going crazy at the moment? Like, apart from, I know there's politics, there's war, there's, there's
I don't know. It's a very quiet time to be alive. Nothing's going on.
Nothing much, pretty boring actually,
pretty quiet.
There was the COVID, and there were, and it's almost like, there's so many strange things that have actually taken place since 2020?
Yeah, it's all about fear and control and all of that. So that's what a lot of it is all about, is when you're in fear, you can be controlled, okay?
Yes.
And that's what it's all about. So it comes back to the programming. It comes back to them wanting us to be good little sheep and fall into line and do what they say, you know, yes, sir, no, sir, 3 bags full, sir.
Well, it's not working terribly well, is it?
No. So this is the awakening process, you know, and this is, you know, if we want to go to, speaking something a bit political, is, what was it last year, the yes, no vote thingy? Yeah. That was a really good litmus test to see who was awake, to see who was actually paying attention, and that was a big no vote. And it's not people being racist at all. It's just people being able to read in between the lines and actually see what the lies, the corruption, and what lies behind it. Okay,
I literally went to an event, right, a large event, okay, which was with my word, okay, Jacinta Price, okay, Jacinta Price, okay, and look, fantastic event. And I actually went with an Aboriginal friend. Yeah, we were actually there to talk about this and actually hear all the facts, yes, no, and whatever, make our own decision. So it's not a racial thing, right? You're standing there, I'm standing there with a guy who is literally an Aboriginal fella. Yeah.
But a lot of people wouldn't know that was about a land grab. A lot of people wouldn't know it's selling off to the WHO and the UN and all that kind of stuff, and letting them in the back door. So of course the mainstream's not going to tell you that. Okay, they're just going to make it all sparkly and you know, and lovely. So you know, that was a really good test, I think, to see the majority of people are starting to wake up. They're starting to question things. They're starting to break down these programs, and that's really where we're going. So that is a part of the Ascension process. So whether, like I said, you're aware of it or not, it doesn't matter. It's happening to everybody. So bit by bit, as the media is starting to come out with more information about vaccines, about COVID, about Fauci,
surely
about
we're all over
everything
that,
that's coming out. Look what Robert Kennedy Jr. is doing. You know, all this kind of stuff. People are starting to become more aware. Oh, hold on, maybe what they told me wasn't quite right, or how come this is different now? So people are starting to see that and starting to realize. But you know,
look, isn't it interesting that so many people who were very much sold by the media, by culture, right, as being the nutters, right? The nutters. The nutters.
That's been me for along most of my growing up life.
Nutters, invert those comments, are the critical thinkers.
Correct.
Right?
Absolutely.
Okay, and yeah, some of them are prime nutters. I mean, there's a bit of that. But let's be very frank. The great majority of people are just people who go, hang on, I just want to back away. I want to step away. I want to look at all the facts. Okay, I want to look at the left. I want to look at the right. And I want to make my decision from that.
Practical.
So, you know, that conspiracy theorist term was coined in 1962, 1963 after the JFK assassination, because it was coined by the CIA because they didn't want people questioning things, okay? So then they wanted to discredit people and discredit those people who are critical thinkers. So that's the kind of people that they don't want to cultivate. That's why they want these nations of sheep and people that will just follow rules and follow direction. And we're not standing for that.
No.
What do you think would have happened if the whole world, or 95% of the world, had dug their heels in? Like, you know, let's quantum jump for a moment. So 2020, you know, I was over in Queensland at the time.
Okay.
And all heck was just breaking loose. I was boarding the plane and suddenly there's this whole thing about COVID. And I thought, oh my gosh, what am I getting myself into? Of course, I had peers that were flying in from America. I was only flying in from Perth, and I was doing a speakers event. And you know what? There were people up there selling $10,000 programs. And one lady from the USA, she was selling a $10,000 program. And I was actually following her down the aisle saying, oh, how do I get on board with your $10,000 program? And she said, sorry, can't talk, got to go. She was running to the airport.
Right.
So she was running to jump on a plane before all the borders closed.
Right.
And this is where it all started. I'll never forget that. And then I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to get home. I think I need to get home. But, you know, it was like a ghost town. Yeah. Here I was in the most
It was amazingly, it was just a crazy time.
It was crazy. Crazy.
To me, that whole period explained something to me that I had been asking myself for many, since I was actually like, I don't know, about 10. Right, I used to look at Nazi Germany, okay, in that period of all that, and I would look, and I go, how did they do that to a population? How did they get a population to turn a blind eye to the atrocities that were going on? Okay,
Mind control.
Absolutely.
right?
Mind control.
And now we know.
Yeah.
Okay, because in 2020 we learnt the lessons of the fact that
Yeah.
propaganda is incredibly powerful when
It
you control the
comes
media.
back to frequency. Sorry
Yeah.
to butt
Yeah,
in.
no,
So
go for it.
Hitler actually changed the 432 hertz to be 440.
Yes.
So, you know, and that the 440 hertz actually makes you feel uneasy. It makes you feel on
Is
edge.
that right?
So,
Wow.
so that's when
know.
the German national anthem and other things
Mm-hmm.
as well, when you've got the frequencies in the background, it was changed to all of that. All the songs and the music had to have that. So people weren't calm and relaxed.
Yep.
They were like, oh,
Uptight.
yeah.
So it's all subliminal kind
It's
of
all
thing.
everything, all
Exactly.
this stuff going on in the background, and
Frequency beats per minute is a big
Yeah.
thing. Like
Yeah.
128 beats a minute is actually it's a natural rhythm of the body. And if some artists in the past, Madonna being one of them, Marilyn Manson being another one, like literally marketed on the fact that making their music fit into 128 beats a minute because it matches the body, right? So there's for some reason you don't know why. There's a natural reason why you like that music.
Yeah, and some of the singers, I think it's can't remember. I shouldn't name them, but they actually have subliminal their voice in the background.
Doubt about it, yeah.
And I mean, I'll do that.
What about all those
in
satanic
hypnosis.
rituals that they're doing in the
But,
background as
you
well?
know, I mean,
to glaze
yeah.
people over and to get them into it. We won't. That's a story for another day.
But you know, my question to you is this: do you think that if the whole world boycotted the whole system of, you know, COVID and
it wouldn't have
the
happened.
government had done, that, you know, the world would be in a different place today?
What's that movie? Is it the Ants movie, or is it the other animated movie where the crickets or whatever, the generals or the
It's
locusts,
ants.
are standing up and saying, we don't want them to know there's more of them than there is of us.
Yeah.
And we don't want them to realize
Look,
their power. So that's what it's been all about, is segregation, black against white, you know, gay against straight, everything like that, all these religions, because it segregates us. When we come together, that's when we are at our strongest.
Divide
So
and
you look at
conquer.
all these rallies that were going on over the last couple of years.
What rallies? You remember ones that just 2 or 3 people showed up?
Those
no worries,
gatherings.
Yeah.
There was people from all denominations, all
course. She
walks
was
of
heading them
life,
all up.
all
That's
you know, everywhere. And that was the beauty of it all. It didn't matter who you were, where you come from, how much you earn. That didn't matter.
Not at all.
Everybody came together for a common cause, and that's what we're coming back to with the fifth dimension. Is coming back to community, coming back to love, coming back to all that kind of thing, instead of being separated and I'm better than you and I'm going to get ahead of you and all this kind of stuff. And just be on your phone, and then no actual human interaction. Like, I'm still old school. I'm sorry, I don't have a booking system. I have a diary, and if you want to book in with me, you ring me. If you want to have a conversation, you ring me. Okay, I am sorry, and I know people hate it, but then you're not the right person to come and work with me. Then
you're not the fit.
Come meet me, come have a conversation, because it's about energy, it's about frequency. And if you want to work at my center, you have to see that you're comfortable in that energy as well. And we have to make sure that there's a synergy there that's going to work with everybody who's already there.
It's an unbelievably hard balance to find. But
Yeah.
I'll throw in something here. Is like now, okay, AI, which I am completely against. Hate it with a passion.
I'm the same.
Guess what? Having to use it.
I know.
Okay? Having to use it because unfortunately what happens.
But you can use it for good or evil.
Of course you can.
Aaron.
Absolutely.
Yes,
You know,
there's the good and
You
the
know,
bad.
it's
So
like
true.
everything.
Yeah, it's like intent.
Hypnosis, good or
Right.
evil.
Yeah, everything has a
Ooh,
polarity.
do you know, if you make me clap like a chicken, definitely evil, right?
Yeah.
No, I think so much of life, right? Okay, there's a few little words that kind of sum up life, and I think intent is one of them. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, like if we think
That's a
about,
big word.
like I've got mates of different, colors and creeds and whatever. Okay, so and we will tease each other. Okay, and we'll be all now. The intent is we're friends.
That's mateship, though,
it's
isn't it?
mateship,
In
there's
a-
love, right?
Yeah.
Whereas other people might
Yeah.
walk in and go, "Well, that's racism."
Yeah.
Call
But
Karen.
that's the
quickly,
Aussie
right?
way.
Yeah, it's
Call
the Aussie
Karen.
way.
I love it. Sorry. Love you, Karen.
Yeah. But it's whatever you do in life, if your intent is a positive one, I think it's
That's
coming
right.
from your heart space,
Yes.
doing the right thing by everyone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's another part of moving into the fifth dimension, and the new earth is, if you're 51% in service to humanity, you've got no issues going forward. Okay, you don't have to do
Aaron,
much
you are
more than that.
absolutely
Am I speaking over?
home and
Yeah.
Oh, look at
So
that.
you
I don't know if
are-
that's true, but
you
all right.
are.
Yeah.
Really
so
and truly,
the
you are.
majority of people are.
Yeah.
They're good people. They're kind people. They will stop and help
I'm going to have
that kind
a
of thing.
disagreement with you on that one.
But, you know, there's still a lot of people that are closed off. So then this is when you can get into the discussion of NPCs. I don't know if you know about NPCs or what NPCs are, but there's a hell of a lot of NPCs around.
Okay, NPCs.
Okay, so NPCs is a term, non-player character.
Yes.
Okay, so generally when you say like in a movie or in a sitcom, the people that sit in the background, or basically it's termed or coined from a video games, you know, who's in the background. Or you can say, you know, in the Matrix movie, the lady in the red dress, she's a distraction. Okay. So you're in the Matrix and there's just people walking everywhere, got to look out for the lady in the red dress. She's the distraction, right? So the NPCs, and again, you know, just go with this people that are new. Please just be open to go with this. There are people, a hell of a lot of people on this earth that are born without the same kind of souls that the rest of us have.
Boom.
Okay. So NPCs have they are alive, obviously, but they don't have a soul. There's no empathy. There's no sympathy. There's no light between their eyes.
I mean, everybody's got a soul.
No, not everybody. Have you not come across somebody?
I've never come on. There are people out there who. So I used to live on the principle, right? Okay, my premise was that you walked into life and most people were positive people. Most people wanted to care. Okay. I don't agree with that. I used to think most people were good.
I realise that you don't agree with that because do you know, no matter what though, Aaron, everybody is always coming from the greatest intention, because if you get into the mind of that person who you think you don't agree with, that's coming from a good place, you will find that if you jumped into their body, a bit like what happened when, you know, the Twin Towers.
Okay,
you know,
everyone
back
steps
then,
up to a different level.
And can you believe Anthony Robbins was having the a seminar when that was actually going on, and somebody in the audience got a phone call from her husband who was on the 100th floor. 100th? I don't know, some.
It's now a number.
It's
we'll go with
that. And he was saying goodbye to her on the phone in that, and he said, "I'm sorry, this is it. There's people flying out the windows. There's all sorts of things going on," and a man in the audience stood up and said, "Quite frankly, that was just retribution." So even
that's perspective, and I get
but
it.
see, that's still coming from his highest perspective. Even though, so you say no, you don't agree with it, right?
No, it's funny having that kind of. I actually understand that theory, right? Because I, you know, like my mum used to say. My mum used to say, right? But she used to say America was late to the first 2 world wars, so they want to make sure they start the third one. Okay, and I agree with that. I really, really do. I mean, and what
old administration, not new administration.
No, exactly. Yeah, we're on the same path there, big time. You know, the Clintons of this world, right? Okay, and their friends, right? Yeah. So, but I get that. I really do. So I can understand his perspective. Is what I'm getting at.
Even though you may completely disagree with it,
but I get it. I absolutely get it. Where I was coming from was just the fact that I think that there's too many people who are inherently just negative. Right?
Yeah, but I mean, have you not ever come across a person, you've had a conversation, there is nothing behind their eyes? They're almost like a robot. Have you not come across any people like that?
Have you met my last wife or what?
Well, no, not recently. No. Well, but I mean, I've come across quite a few of these people.
There's no empathy. Non-emotional?
Yeah, there's no empathy, there's no sympathy, and you say something and they literally glitch. I'm telling you, I've had this quite a few times.
But maybe you've got those eyes.
They glitch and they just cannot compute. Kind of thing, and you can just see it going, and then they start off again like you're not even there. Who they didn't, and you never said anything, and they walk off.
But do you know
these
what?
Even NPCs,
even that is a problem though. So for that person who's doing the robotical dance, so to speak, they are shut off. If they're so shut off, they are shut off.
But they're put on this earth
of their own trauma.
I get that. Terry, 100% I agree with you with some people, but what I'm specifically talking about is not that person, okay? This is something completely different, okay? They are put here to make the rest of us follow orders. They're the ones that are, again, in line, the first for the next apple, products. These are the people that they're training to then go and get the neurotrip, what am I saying? The neurochip for the brain, all that kind of thing. And then, those bars, instead of having your FPOS card, they put a bar in you.
But
And
wouldn't we be better off
going
if
on
we
to the
just wear a
transhumanism, okay?
Yeah.
So we're not on that timeline anymore, okay? That timeline is gone. But this is what I'm saying. Those NPCs were put here for a reason. So then with all the COVID stuff and everything, they're all doing this stuff. They're all following. They're all getting their 5 jabs and this and that. So then the rest of us go, I better go follow what everybody else is doing.
I'm not sure I agree with you. But I tell you what, I take your point.
NPCs
and
are.
I get it. I get it. I just don't know if there's an NPC. I got a mate. I didn't know what an NPC was until my mate, who's a gamer.
Something
my
every
mate's a
day.
gamer, and he was saying that, and that made sort of sense to me, right?
Yeah.
But in everyday life, I don't know if I actually agree with you on that one.
Yeah.
But I think there's so many people out there. There's so many people out there who are almost like playing life on easy mode. Okay.
Yeah. No, 100%. Sorry.
That's all right, sweetheart.
Look at that. Never work with children and pets. There we go.
Aaron. You've got animal magnetism.
Okay. But look, I agree with you, and that's fine. Everyone's on their own journey, and again, then when we come back to the soul contracts and that kind of thing as well. But it's just something to be aware of.
Yeah.
And those kind of people where
I'm with you on
you're not kind of getting any feedback or any kind of energy from, where there's no empathy or sympathy. Again, I would pretty much try and stay away from those people, because it's not going to further you or help you in any way.
Okay, so can I say something here? Let's put on our therapy hat now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll do that for
Do
a sec. Hang on. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
It's a green one.
So
Yeah,
there's
it
a
is.
green one. I'm going
have them
to
everywhere.
show up with a hat on the head.
I do have a
Okay.
Mario hat out there. You
So
can wear that.
when one of the things that we're trained, as a hypnotherapist and I believe God gave me these eyes as well, is not to see people through their behaviors, not to see people through their, if someone didn't walk into my practice and I couldn't see the best in them, I would be very doubtful about what I could do for them. And that I don't think it ever happened.
Really?
Yeah.
Really, because sometimes I didn't even see people who were obese that were coming in to drop excess kilos. So I guess what I'm saying here is that all of the stuff that we're talking about here is world stuff. It's problematic stuff. It is the stuff that is really pulling people down today. And if I was going to put on my Joe Dispenza hat, one of the things that I'm going to pull from the magic of your words is that you're saying that we're all moving into that 5-dimensional, but you're also talking about it in the terms of the 3-dimensional, like here on Earth is in our human way where we foul up, we make mistakes, where, we're really buggering things up in humanity.
And we're doing it well.
And we're doing it really, really well. I can't think of a better way to put it.
Yeah.
So Joe Dispenza believes that the ultimate element is unity.
Mm-hmm.
It is where
Okay.
we become each other. We become one. We become wholesome.
Right.
It's no longer us and them.
Yeah.
It's
How
no.
good would it be to get to that point?
Yeah,
I know,
absolutely.
right?
Well, that's the dream,
It's,
right?
it's,
It
it's
is.
no
Yeah.
longer us and them. So what we do when we're moving into that realm is we zoom out.
Okay.
And this is where we zoom out. It's like the Matrix. Which pill are you going to have? The blue one
I'm
or
a
the
red pill every day.
Okay. And this
of the
lady
week.
looks like she's from Pulp Fiction.
Oh.
I mean, I love it.
On you, Emma. There we go.
Yeah, I love it. But, the fact is that if we were talking in terms of this sci-fi and this element of where we're all living on ground earth and we are literally encountering so much stuff, and then all of a sudden we all get swooped up, like sucked out of the earth.
Right.
And taken
that
up.
could hurt.
That could feel good, and taken up to 5-dimensional, not a
Right.
drone,
No drone?
but a 5-dimensional, where we look at our lives and we completely release and let go. So I'm just going to do a little share. I won't bore because this is not about, you know, my husband or me or anything like that. But I think I mentioned to you that Ian, my husband, has vascular dementia that has taken him into a shockwave. And, you know, I'm now calling in people who are in the more five-dimensional world. They're acupuncturists. They're people that are looking towards rehabilitation rather than a downward decline, right? And it's interesting that the lady that I chose, and she's a wizard. She can read you. She got his hands. She opened his hands and she grabbed his hands and she went, "Oh, I need to make you well. I need to make you well." And I thought to myself, I wonder why she's saying that. And I'm going, what, you know, why? And she said, because he's brilliant and he can teach me things, because she's like Chinese medicine and kinesiology. She said he had artificial intelligence, didn't he? And I said, what do you mean? The COVID jab.
Yeah.
And he did. And he was completely against vaccination, right? And this is where I'm going to open up soul contracts, that this was Ian's journey. And I need to leave it alone. And she said this to me. She said, Terry, this is his journey. In other words, stay out of it. And
so hard too, though.
I know.
Like when someone you
really
love,
is.
Sorry,
declining.
I'm
at
stepping
the rate
into
of
that journey. That's
I know.
Because if you love somebody, you want to make their life the best.
You do. And I can tell that a lot of people, I think, feel sorry for me because they see that, oh, this poor woman, you know, she's so desperate to make him well, and it's not happening, you know. Well, and I mean, you know, this is the part I wanted to get to anyway. I won't make it about myself. It was about the fact that she said he's had artificial intelligence put into his body. And this is exactly where he is as a result. And it pushes the DNA. It pushes the genetics. So I'm going to ask you a question on that, because that's obviously why we've got you on the show.
Spot on.
So with your knowledge, if this is a soul contract, I'm sure there are other people out there listening, and it may not be the same sort of thing, but you know, there's always people who are suffering, you know, that they're going through trauma, they're going through so much. Can you explain how this can be? My husband, for example, we'll use Ian as an example to open up how this is his soul contract, what that means, because some people don't even know what a soul contract is.
So basically soul contracts are in a basic way, a list of things that you want to achieve in your incarnation. So for younger souls, souls that haven't incarnated that much, they're just going to have a pretty easy life, and you know, everything's going to be great and fluffy for them. I must have been recycled
that many times then.
So us older souls, we really choose all the hard shit, you know. We really choose all the difficult challenges and the things to go through, because we've done all the fluffy stuff. We've done that in past incarnations, past lives, different things. So we will choose the hardest paths to go down.
You mean some of us actually, you know, before we come on this earth, we go, I want to choose the hardest path.
As a soul collectively. So if you want to actually just go back a minute here, and this information I got from Anthony Grzelka, I work very with him, and basically, so he's Australia's ghost whisperer, so he connects with people that have passed over. So this information comes from the connections and the people that have already passed over. So basically, we are as we are now is your incarnation now. So when you go back to source, so your physical body dies, the soul doesn't die. And we know that the soul weighs 12 12 grams.
I did not know that.
I did not know that
So
either.
our soul actually has
I'm
a
putting my soul on a diet.
has a weight. Okay, so it has an energy, it has a frequency. So that goes back to source.
Okay.
So if you want to think of a glass and you've got a little bit of water in it, that's every lifetime that you've had. If you're an older soul, you're going to have more water in that cup or in that bottle. Okay, so then when you go back to source, that one little drop that you are now goes back into that whole glass of water, and then it permeates through. So all the experiences, everything that you've done, you've learned, you've done in this lifetime, then all those experiences then go into that glass, and then that glass gets a little bit fuller.
Okay.
My mother's hair would be standing on end right
Really?
now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, because, this is the difference. So when I was, can I just say for a second, when I stepped into hypnosis and NLP, because it's a very spiritual world, it is a subconscious world, and it does come down, disclaimer, it does come down to what everyone believes, right?
Of course it does.
Now, I know when I was in Bali, because I practically lived in Bali last year. I spent most of my time, probably 9 months out of 12,
I hate to see
living
you
in
struggle
Bali.
like that.
I know,
Really
it was just,
terrible.
it was,
What a
it was
life.
terrible.
But it would have been
I feel
awful.
for it.
But
Awful.
there was a lot of reasons behind that too. So anyways, that weren't necessarily that exciting. But I can remember, because I had, and I had to deal with this actually. I just recently had some hypnosis because I have a fear of death.
Really?
But yes,
so you brought this up before.
but it's not my death. It's
Right.
other people's death. So if I think someone's like, I fear people dying around me.
Okay.
But it's bad. It's so bad that I had to go and see someone.
Is it
I
really?
had to go and see someone last week about it.
Okay.
Yeah. So because the thought of losing people is frightful to me.
Yeah.
And I can remember saying something in Bali to one of the, wise Balinese people, and they went, oh, here in our country, we don't believe like you. When our people pass over, they don't go down, they go up. Yeah, they elevate.
I like
I'm
that.
like, okay.
I'll
But
take
I
that option.
still couldn't embrace it. I
don't
really
get
couldn't.
it. You know what?
I needed
I
help.
spent a bit of time with you, and you're a very positive person, right?
Mm.
Well, okay. Well, maybe
I
you
come
fake it.
across
I don't
that
know.
way.
Well, maybe you
But
fake it really well. Maybe
but
she's a great actress.
I am
Huh?
a positive person,
I'm teasing
but
about
I'm
being the
into
actress.
dramas in a huge way.
Oh, no. I know. Okay. I'm realistic. I know you attract drama like
I
Jerry
know.
Springer, right?
Yeah.
But
You don't need a sitcom around me.
no, you don't.
Yeah.
No. You forget Matt.
Best
Okay,
movie
just
ever.
watch this woman's life.
Yeah.
Right? That's all you need. Right?
Yeah.
But okay,
Yeah.
but sometimes we need drama. We like life to be have a bit of
Bit
oomph.
exciting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
We fall asleep. Well, I
Yeah.
do. I mean, that's how I live my life, right?
Yeah.
Which is probably been a terrible path in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But as far as the fear for death, I don't get it. I really don't get it. Like people have it for
I
themselves.
know you
I
don't
guess.
fear it. I can
But
tell
death,
that.
that's all, zero.
Oh, and maybe because you've had more experience than me, because I haven't lost a lot of people. But, I guess where I'm going with this conversation is, firstly, if we come back to the soul contracts, I mean, if someone does die, and if Ian, for example, wherever his journey is supposed to be, I can see a lot of subconscious reasons. I actually said to someone, and of course, I'm so glad about this, but a lot of the culture that are around him are Asian, Indian people.
Okay.
And so they have that little bit of a different belief system.
Yeah.
And I said, tongue in cheek, I promise it was tongue in cheek. But I said, oh, he was a king in his last life. And he
Right.
went, was he?
Was he?
But he
Oh,
thought,
they
I was
believe
yeah,
that.
they're aboard, right? Yeah.
So then they treat him like a king. That's good.
I know.
Yeah, well done.
It's because,
it's planning, right?
and so in a really big way, he's getting everything done for him. So at a subconscious level, even though I am sure he didn't say at any point of his time, I want to get vascular dementia.
Oh, no,
I want to go
no.
down big time. But he has achieved a kind of an undying wish in my eyes, unwittingly, by the subconscious requirement and desire, the secret desire to have all these people fluffing around him. I'm just going to say it like it is.
Well, yeah. Sorry, you go on.
But it's also the fact, I
Self-contract.
think, of having that experience of not being able to express himself, not being able to communicate, not being able to do things for
True.
yourself.
Did I tell you that?
So those things, it doesn't make sense to our rational mind to want something like that, of course. But on a soul level, like I said, when we go back into the cup and we fill up that cup, the next life that you have, you're not exactly the same person you are now. You have aspects of all the different lives that you've had, okay? So that's where some of these irrational fears come from. Like I know people that are scared to death of, I shouldn't say it, sorry.
Go for it.
I was about to say burning alive in your house, sorry.
That's all right.
Sorry, I realised as I said
It happens. And you know what?
And
Got out with 5 minutes to go.
And
right?
it's
So
never
winner,
and
right?
it's never happened to them, right? But it's
Yeah.
obviously from a past life, or people that
It's funny
can't
you should
wear
say that.
scarves around their neck
Yeah.
because perhaps they've had their throat cut or
Yes.
they've been hung.
Yeah.
Those kind of things. So we're all
dear.
aspects of
Bit rough.
our past lives that we've
Yeah.
had. So then when we go to the next one, we're ready for our next incarnation.
Right.
There is literally a whole series of panels and light frequency that we have to go through on what is going to be for the next lifetime, what we want to achieve, what we want to experience.
Sure.
Yeah.
And like I said, those of us have been around, many, many, many thousands and thousands of times.
Yeah.
We're going to start choosing the hard incarnations,
Yes.
starting to really look at the hard
Interesting.
stuff.
You say thousands and
challenges.
thousands of times, right?
Yeah.
Because that's a great point. Like again, we'll go back, and I'm not even a gamer, but I'm going to use gaming terminology again. But okay, if you're going to play a game, and these days, so many people are playing computer games left, right, and centre, right? That's kind of their social element, which is a bit frightening. But if you're going to do that, right, once you get good at it, what do? You move to the harder level.
Yeah, you've got to keep going up level.
Exactly right.
Yeah,
You've got to step it up. Otherwise, life becomes very, very dull, right? So if you look at life the same way, if you're going to come back for another lab, I want it to be more interesting and challenging than the time before.
Can I tell you something on that note?
Yeah.
You're talking about gamers and how they want to continually keep going, right? Because they're going to get bored at this level.
Agreed.
Did you know, you'd understand this, Kim, that is one of the reasons that when you do hypnosis and you do NLP or subconscious work like what you do with people, cling, 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 sometimes they don't think they've changed. And I'll tell you why, because it's become a new normal.
Yeah.
And the
interesting.
it's true. It's
kind of a cool thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not cool. It is no. It's not cool for the facilitator.
Oh, okay.
It's very
I was thinking
cool
from their point of view, but
it's very cool for the person.
Right.
But for the person, they feel normal. You know why they feel normal?
Why is that?
Because it was done at a subconscious level. So they change. So the subconscious is like, I got this. So this has been going on forever.
Done this.
Because let's face it, you think about it, right? With hypnosis, if you had people coming in and they were quitting, like I had people coming in to quit heroin, where they were on heroin for, I'm talking 30 years.
Jeez.
And, they'd lost their kids. So they had
there's a lot of pressure to it.
They had a big reason to get off it, right? So when they were coming in, they, the fact that when they came off of it, they weren't thinking about it anymore.
No, because they were ready. They were coming to you for help. They wanted to do it.
It wasn't in their head. It's like they forgot. Remember, Bill? I forgot my cigarettes.
Yes.
They forget that's how they thought.
That's how they used to live their life. That was
because
the program.
It becomes their new normal.
Yeah.
So how does, say, Aaron's life, my life, how much time have we got? A few minutes?
We've got I can give you about 3.8 minutes.
Oh my God, that's a lot in Aaron's word. Let's get on with it.
It's a bit accurate.
Let's take Aaron and myself, because our audience is starting to get to know us really well. Yeah. So Aaron's he's got quite a big story, and a little bit about it because obviously his house burnt down. He lost his children. He's had 2.5 marriages. So can I use you as an example?
Go for it. Why not?
How is this a soul contract for Aaron? What can it mean for him? And what can he do to honour his soul contract or to make the
And
change.
how can I sue whoever wrote this freaking contract?
No, I love those memes where, you know, you got Sheldon Cooper going, no,
That's
going
right.
through the paperwork and going, oh, right, now I understand. So, yeah, it is exactly. And it doesn't make any sense when we're in the middle of it,
No,
okay? It's horrible. I've had a lot of crap, you know, in my life as well, and it doesn't make any sense. But once you come through it, once you get to the other side, then you kind of look back in hindsight and go, oh, okay, I understand now.
But do people do that though, Kim?
Well,
because a lot of people are still practicing it
not.
in their minds.
Yeah, no, of course, because they hold on to the victim mentality, the grudges and all that kind of thing. That keeps them stuck in a low vibration, okay? This is the thing. People have to start letting go of these programs and starting to come back to love and to come back. I know it sounds fluffy and I apologize.
Fluff away.
But you know, that's what
Hasn't
it
been
is.
fluffy
And
today.
start raising the vibration again, opening up the consciousness, understanding that was something that was meant to happen, as tragic and horrible as it was. It's happened. You can't change it. What positives can we come out of it?
And there are massive positives, right?
That's right.
Don't get me wrong.
Thank you.
Would love to change things, right? I would love to not have gone through particular experiences of my life.
But it's put it onto your particular path. See, that's when people are not on the right path. Okay, they're not listening to the universe. They're not looking at all the signs. You get a massive kick up the ass in one way or another that stops you in your tracks and makes you redirect. Okay,
no, I'm not listening. No.
Yeah. So unfortunately, that's what happens. Okay, and it's different for everybody. It could come in a car accident. It could come in losing your job. It could come breaking your leg. Anything for anybody that just stops
sometimes
you.
in life, I mean, I've had the car accident. I've had the deaths. I've had the house burned down. I've had losing my kids. I've had like the divorce. I've had the full gamut, right? You can throw it, right?
You really have.
Really
you're very
have.
talented.
Well,
You're so talented. You're very
Well
stylish.
done.
You're actually,
there we go.
You're very stylish.
You've got bingo. You've got
I am winning those bingo cards. Well, my life started.
I'm not making light of it.
No, and you know what? And I take it with the grain of salt that you threw it at. I mean, my life started with literally, as 4 months old, I ended up in a coma for a month, right? From a car accident, right? So I'm not supposed to be here.
Right.
So, yes, you are.
Exactly.
Soul contract.
Soul contract. So, you know what? The things that I've gone through are very, very challenging. There's been a lot of them, okay? But I've also been through incredibly positive things, and I've also had incredible people in my life.
Right.
So, you know, would I change a few things? Oh, my God, I would change things.
Yeah.
But I'm also incredibly, I don't know, there's gratitude.
Yes.
Strange.
That is so good.
It is.
Yeah,
It's really good.
And I love the saying that was brought to me a couple of years ago, and things don't happen to you, they happen for you.
Yeah.
That's right.
I never got that. Only not that long ago in my life that actually really sunk in. So, you know, we're all here to grow, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if you're working on your principle, when I come back, I'm expecting just life luxury.
Yeah.
Okay, I want it easy. I've done the hard yards. Come on, mate.
You know, you are the superhero in your own show.
Yeah.
And you cannot be a superhero without going through the turmoil, the adversity.
Yeah.
So, you know, I want to give the respect to you by actually giving people the opportunity to come into your space at Vivacious Living because she's got a machine, and the machine can actually study the DNA of the person.
Now, we have to finish now, unfortunately.
I know.
So over, but what I would ask is for people to jump onto the socials, right, and ask questions about this. And what we'll do is get all the links and actually share, because I think this is really
Thank
good.
you.
For that point, let's get together later on and actually talk about this, and let's specifically go straight into that subject, because I think it's something that we really need to talk about.
Oh, it's very interesting. The bioresonance is the way of the future for healing.
Yep.
And everybody, needs to know more about it.
Love it.
So,
all right. Thank you very much for being part of the Genius Zone here on Edge Radio Australia. Right now, starting in Studio 1, right over there, is that man. It is Wayne Brown. He's about to do
he's got his
Raid
headphones
the
on.
Crate here on Edge Radio Australia.